Welcome. You are listening to the Play Big Queen podcast. This is for you if you are a woman who is an entrepreneur, business owner, professional, leader, or someone who is deeply committed to personal growth, self-improvement, transformation, and living authentically. This is especially for you if you have an invisible disability, whether you are diagnosed, undiagnosed, self-diagnosed, or late diagnosed, and you are working on reclaiming your neurodivergent identity, rebuilding confidence, learning what works for your unique brilliance while breaking free from small people-pleasing conditioning. If you are a visionary change maker interested in advancing your leadership and creating success on your terms, and you want to leave a legacy, if you are navigating disability or neurodiversity as an individual or as an ally, and you are looking for a supportive and inclusive environment to thrive, then this is for you. I am your hostess, Kate Bailey. I am the Play Big Queen. My name is my title and a command for all women. Play Big Queen. I invite you to claim this title for yourself and coronate your Play Big self too, if it serves you. I am a business and embodiment mentor working with women who are ready to rise the fuck up and be your bold, beautiful, sexy ass self, start and grow your big, bold vision, and claim that you too get to have your boldest desires. I am the creatrix of Kate Bailey LLC, which provides coaching services, educational courses, products, and experiences that promote success in neurodiversity advocacy, women's empowerment, embodiment, entrepreneurship, and business to serve women on their transformational journey. To learn more about my company offerings and to get on my email list, go to xxxkatebailey.com. If you would like to learn more about my work, my personal values, my mission, and my community, make sure you catch the last 5 minutes of this episode to go deeper and learn so much more. On this podcast, sometimes we will have guests. Sometimes I'll do solo episodes, but every single time you listen, you will expand. So get ready. It's a new era for women on the Play Big path. Long may we reign.
Welcome back to the Play Big Queen podcast. I cannot believe this is episode 30. Today I want to talk about something that is often misunderstood, not just by society, but sometimes even us, even other members in the disability community, especially if you are neurodivergent and grew up trying to keep up with a pace, a tone, a way of speaking that never actually felt natural for your brain. We're going to dive into how language is processed, how speech is formed, and why communication isn't and never has been a one-size-fits-all, even though most of the world likes to act like it is. So let me paint a picture. Imagine trying to download a huge file on the slowest Wi-Fi possible while someone stands over you demanding you email them back immediately. That's what it can feel like for a lot of us with ADHD, autism, traumatic brain injury, auditory processing differences, trauma, anxiety, giftedness, or some beautifully messy blend of all of it. We are understanding, yes, but maybe we're understanding slowly or in fragments or while filtering out background noise or really intense sensory experiences, or translating emotion into words, or looping, or buffering, or freezing. And we are still expected to respond like we're giving a fucking TED Talk right now, out loud, with eye contact. And when we don't do that, people make assumptions. They assume that we are confused, that we're checked out, or we're not smart enough. But here's something that so many people don't know that unfortunately I learned the hard way when I was younger. Comprehension and expression are two different processes. Different parts of the brain handle each one. Wernicke's area supports understanding. That is our input. Broca's area supports speech. That is our output. They are connected, but they don't always run at the same speed, especially in neurodivergent brains. And then you add in working memory, executive function, emotional regulation, sensory input, auditory filtering, all of these other things that influence whether or not we can respond and how fast we can respond, especially in real time. So sometimes it might be the case that maybe someone fully understands you, but they need more time to find the right words. Or maybe someone talks for hours, but doesn't truly register what you said until later. That doesn't make someone less capable. It just means they're running a different operating system, and that system is completely valid. But I think what makes it so hard sometimes is that we live in a world that moves so very fast and praises fast talkers and super polished replies as if quick delivery equals intelligence. And that is a privilege that I often receive that also masks my invisible disabilities around my comprehension rates. Like my language, my interpersonal skills, they are very polished, they are very quick. I feel grateful, but it's also a privilege to be able to speak at that speed. And it's a privilege to be able to comprehend at a speed that permits you to keep up with the neurotypical world that we live in. And if you grew up as someone who is undiagnosed, like I did, or you had a traumatic brain injury when you were younger or at any stage in your life, like I did, you may have internalized the idea that if you fumble, you pause, you freeze, you loop, you need to take more time to understand, you get the message that you're somehow less intelligent, less capable, or less worthy. And this belief is internalized ableism. And it is really time that as a society, we start to do better and get better and start to let those ideas go. I have worked with brilliant women, like visionaries, writers, creators, who also freeze on Zoom. Some people script everything ahead of time because they shut down in group meetings, not because they're shy, but because the conversation moves too fast for their nervous system. Some of the podcast episodes here are fully scripted, half scripted, or fully ad-libbed, depending on how my symptoms for ADHD are doing on that particular day. Because with no filter, I can't figure out which words I want to get out to stay on topic. These podcast episodes would be 3 hours long if I did not have some sort of guide or rail to keep my train on the tracks on the day where my mind is just flitting all over the place. And what I really want us to take from this conversation about different styles of speech is that just because someone struggles with speech or comprehension in certain areas, that doesn't mean that they're unqualified. It means that the space was not built for them, or there are not structures in place to support how they communicate. I started thinking about this a lot this week because I was reminded about my TBI that I had when I was younger. I had a slip fall accident where I was 11. I smacked my chin on a metal bar, broke teeth, had a coup contra coup concussion. I was out for a minute reciting words to the movie Point Break. I'm sure I've talked about it in another episode. And I also had a stroke when I was 19. And I can definitively remember before and after how my comprehension was. To have access to an ability or function that your brain can utilize at a pace that allows you to keep up with the rest of society, and then to lose it is coming into a room, someone turning on the lights and then shutting off the lights immediately. It's very disorientating, and it can be difficult to figure out how to navigate. And I think the biggest feeling that I had was frustration and then grief for a loss of ability. But like, if you are listening to this and you are thinking that how you communicate is not enough because you're either comparing yourself to a neurotypical standard in society, or maybe you're comparing yourself to who you used to be when you had greater access to one of your abilities, I want to invite you to shift from comparison and self-judgment for not being quick enough to either process or speak. And I'm not inviting you to love it. You don't have to love how it is now compared to how it was, but I am asking you to meet it. Meet yourself in the space where your abilities have shifted and see, where is it possible to create more space in your conversations? Where can you start to create a habit of self-advocacy? You don't have to tell everybody your whole life history like I do on my podcast, right? Like, self-advocacy could be as simple as, it takes me longer to process communication, or I actually verbalize a lot faster. Can we do XYZ in the conversation so I can participate, right? Including yourself instead of judging yourself or keeping yourself out of the conversation just because how you're verbalizing and comprehending is not looking like everybody else is so important. Include yourself. Tell people what helps you feel safe and clear in conversations. Ask people what makes them feel safe and clear in conversations. Treat any silence not as awkward, but as sacred and an opportunity to practice presence with people and different forms of listening, right? Global listening is listening to their body language, their energetics, their facial expressions. The body has a language that communicates in so many more ways than just verbally. We have so much that we're processing. And I think a lot of the time we tend to process in this like 1D communication space. Like, let silence be this beautiful pathway to presence, to other forms of communication. And remember that someone's best thoughts or ideas or words might come on hours or days after the moment where you're in a communication space together, and that is okay. And there's something else that we need to remember. Disability, whether it's a language disability or otherwise, disability is not a fixed club that you're either in or you're out of. The disability community is a community that any one of us can join at any time. And I don't say this to scare you. And my woo-woo fairy people in the coaching industry are probably just like pissed off right now, thinking that I'm manifesting disability by giving it attention. But we need to give this attention in the same way you give your money attention. Maybe you have insurance or you want insurance. You plan for emergencies or end of life things. You can be the healthiest person in the world and disability can come out of nowhere. That is how it works. And it's not some arbitrary boogie monster to fear. It is a major part of the human experience that for some reason our society has inhumanely tried to just edit from our social existence through policy or the way we socialize. But the truth is, 1 in 4 adults just in the United States has some type of disability. That's 27% of the US population. And globally, over 1.3 billion people live with a disability. And then most disabilities are acquired over time. They are not present at birth. Only about 1 in 10 disabled people were born with their disability. And how we treat our disability community is also like a major reflection of how we treat our aging community. 80% of people over age 65 live with at least one chronic condition that could be considered disabling. The likelihood of becoming disabled increases with age, but disabilities can begin at any point in life. And that could be because of trauma, a brain injury, stroke, chronic illness, grief. Grief can be the reason why we have onset for disabilities, hormones. Of course, we said aging, and so many other factors. And any of these can impact how we speak, process, or express ourselves. Speech and communication disabilities are not rare, they're human. I got a really rare window into what it's like to be able to fully process everything that everyone says around me in real time and understand it and not be able to speak at all when I had my stroke. It gave me such profound empathy for when I went to go work in EMS, and particularly when I worked with stroke patients. Now, not all the stroke patients I had could comprehend what I was saying, but there were so many that could comprehend but could not speak back. If you've heard me talk about it on other podcast episodes, I experienced locked-in syndrome for quite a while, and it is wild how people immediately start talking to you like you're dumb, like you don't understand, because the words won't come out or the speech won't come out. And for a long time, it affected my comprehension rate much worse than it is now. I didn't have therapy at the time. Those type of things weren't standard, or like things that we had standard access to once there was like a traumatic event. But like, I naturally started to improve over time, and I was really into spoken word in my late teens and my early 20s. And so that kind of encouraged me to want to be like faster and quicker with my tongue. And I think that was its own form of therapy. But it is so important when we talk about neurodiversity and disability and inclusion that we talk about speech and how we communicate. Because we also see this too, right? With people who speak multiple languages. There are so many stereotypes about intelligence that are linked to how you communicate. We've been taught to correlate fluency and quick speech or perfect grammar with intelligence, but that idea is not just wrong, it is so harmful, and it can lead to violence. It can lead to bullying and trauma and pain and disability from being misinterpreted and then abused. Again, we see this a lot in the way that people treat those who speak English as a second or third language, or who treat immigrants who might have an accent or speak different languages. Not to say that all immigrants have an accent, but that is a stereotype that is weaponized and used to degrade or demean someone's intelligence. When in reality, it often takes more cognitive effort, more brilliance, more depth to translate thoughts across languages, cultures, and sensory systems. Which, thinking about it today, and I've known this all along, this is why when I was younger, right, I went to like an alternative school. I either, you know my story, I got all A's or I flunked out of school because I didn't have access to what I needed. But like, I always got along with all the foreign kids in school. That's how my best friend became someone who was from the Ukraine. I always had friends that were from like all over the world. Part of it was like the privilege of living in New York and the surrounding tri-state area. But part of it is like, I just connected with people who communicated differently. And being with other people who also communicated differently was safer for me. I was seen, heard, and understood more. And I think it's really important to understand that, like, when we build a world that's safer and slower and more pleasurable and more accessible for people who process language differently, we are building a world that is better for everyone. to be inclusive means we stop measuring people by how fast they speak or process. We stop penalizing folks for not performing on cue, and we ask ourselves, do I care about the speed of their response or the truth in what they are actually saying? And where is my conditioning? Have I been conditioned to like move really fast? And like, have I not been taught to be present with and respect different communication styles? Authentic inclusion means that we are making room for people to show up in their natural rhythm, and that we're not just offering them a seat at the table, but we're redesigning the whole fucking table. So like, this is what I do a lot in my coaching too, right? If you speak slowly, if you listen deeply, if you need more time to process, if you can't like get the notes in the coaching session because of the way you process, like, I'll get them for you, right? Like if you write better than you speak, you are not behind. There is nothing wrong with you. There are so many of my clients that internalize that there must be something wrong with them because of how they speak, when that's just not true, right? Your rhythm, no matter what it was before or what the status quo is, your rhythm matters. Your unique rhythm is so important to the fabric of our social groups, our social health, and it is so key for all of us becoming more present and real and authentic with each other. So I'm going to wrap up this subject with a question. I want to ask you, what would you shift in your relationships, in your leadership, in your business, if you built in more time, more quiet, more space for people to respond on their own terms? And how much more of yourself could show up if you stopped trying to match someone else's pace? Really think about that. If you've been following me for a little while, you've probably heard like my intro, my outro, and all the updates about how I've been working on my website at xxxkatebailey.com. For those of you who don't know, I'm in college right now. I hired help with my website, and I actually struggle with communication and following multi-step directions. So when I work with somebody, they have to be like very aware of neurodivergent communication. They have to be type A initiators. And I found somebody and they were great. And I gave them this like laundry list of things because that's how my brain works. And they sent me back an email only getting a couple of those things done. And I had a really hard time sorting out what had been done and what hadn't been done, that it was like literally just easier for my brain to start figuring out how to do the things I needed to do on my website and do them myself. Now listen, in leadership, you have to get good at delegating, and you got to put your CEO hat on and direct other people. And then also, as someone who's neurodivergent, we get to honor our capacity. And so probably since like January, and it's now August of 2025, my website has been like under construction as I go back and forth doing all these other things, starting up my shoe business, going back to college. But I'm really excited because things are starting to smooth out a little bit. If you go check out my website, I'm celebrating that if you go to the Join Our Community section, it's actually working now. If you want to stay updated on all things Play Big Queen and you put your email address in at the bottom of the page on my website where it says Join Our Community, you will be subscribed to an automated like 5 email sequence where I give you a little gift, a little surprise for joining the Play Big Queen community. And if you're on the email list, you should know, like, I don't like spam. I only email for certain things, like once a week when I let you know that there's a new podcast episode. I email you when I have a new offer and I launch, and like I go through like a 30-day sequence of like talking about whatever I'm on my soapbox about that has to do with my programs. And then I email any big major changes. And you can unsubscribe at any time, but like I would love for you to join the email list and the Play Big Queen community. That would feel really good if you haven't already. And then also, I'm just excited that things are working on the website. And then what's really exciting that is starting to finally take shape is if you go to the website and you go to the Work with Kate section, you're going to see all the offers that I'm working on. I've like revamped my offer suite, and it took me a while to figure out what I needed because I wanted my coaching to be accessible for people who really needed clarity and grounding and neurodiverse affirming coaching, and your capacity is limited. But also, you want to play big and you want to work sustainably over time. That is a different type of private coaching than going all in on like a 3-month container where you have your foundations in place. You've been operating at a higher level. Your capacity is a little bit greater and you want to go all in. And you know, I did the thing that I advise my clients against. Like I was kind of fighting my own rhythm and what I really needed. And I finally came to this space where I feel really good about starting to do single private coaching sessions for $150. Like you could get like a package of 3 or 6 or 12 sessions for like, I think you save a little bit on it, but it's on the website. You can't purchase those packages yet because I'm still like working out all the systems and my actual schedule so I can like receive people in conjunction with all that I've got going on with college and my current client load and all that other stuff. But I've started to shape up my offers so we can do private coaching sessions that are highly accessible, and we can also do private premium mentorship that is designed for people who are at a place in life who have all in co-creation energy. They want depth, clarity, and like a bold reclamation after they have some foundations in place. I've also revamped a mastermind. I've gotten really clear that I want no more than 6 people in certain containers because that's like the optimal amount of people for like massive transformation, especially if you have neurodivergent people. Like if you're really investing in a coaching program, like you want attention. I am so sick of hearing from so many friends that are paying like 10, 20K for masterminds and they feel like they can't even get like 10 minutes with their mentor on a call. That is fucking crazy. It wouldn't be crazy if these mentors and coaches were that efficient where they could help you like become profitable and like flush out your branding and offer suite in 10 minutes. But like some of the people who are charging this are not doing too much in 10 minutes. And that's okay. Listen, not talking down on them. I'm always cheering on women. If that's like you listening, girl, go ahead, get yours. But like I'm in this place where I'm creating brand new offer structures and combinations that don't look neurotypical. Like there's no coach out there that would be like, oh, it makes sense to charge $150 for a session and then charge like $7,777 for a pay in full, like all in container for like 3 months. But it does make sense. It makes sense if you're neurodivergent and like your emotional cup is really fucking full and you're going to therapy and you want some help, but like you're not at the point where you've expanded your capacity and can hold more than just like navigating the day to day. So I'm going to be doing private session coaching that doesn't like come with Voxer. There isn't like a lot of add-ons in between, but like one session is more than enough to have plenty to digest for a long time and integrate. Then I'm going to be doing a free 30-day mastermind, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be selling a foundations course, which used to be my Play Big 101, which used to be part of like a greater mastermind that I taught at some point. And I'm putting together a program that's going to be a membership called Body of Work that's going to have like 4 embodiment experiences, classes, whatever you want to call them, per month. That's going to be a monthly membership. And then there's the Blackfire Femme retreat, which I'm really excited about. But again, all of this is like, I'm playing the long game. I'm developing things that have worked in the past, and these are new iterations of those. But everything from the deliverables and the energy exchange and the investment and the pricing in my tiers really fits what I feel makes so much sense for me and my people. I have both people in my audience, both types of clients and customers in my audience, and I love working with both of them. They might be different segments of my audience, but like I've had 10K, 15K coaching contracts with private clients, and then like I've had clients that paid me like $222 a month or like 500, like 100. It all is just like a different exchange or experience. And it's been an absolute pleasure for me genuinely to like meet my clients in each of those different experiences. And so again, I'm still all in on going back to school. And I had a great weekend too, getting involved in my community. And I'm starting to think about how to get more involved in real life in neurodiversity advocacy at the local level and at the educational level with like colleges and educational institutions. And so I've been exploring that as well. But if you go to the website and look at Work with Kate, you can see how my work is shaping up during this iteration of my life and Play Big Queen and like what is going to be coming down the pipeline. You can't really buy anything there yet. I tease. But you can kind of see how it works. And then of course, now the podcast and the blog is like fully hooked up. I have like a contact form on there. I'm so proud of all the developments on my website. And eventually I'll have Tarantati shoes linked up there so you could go shoe shopping with my shoe company, and maybe I'll get some more Play Big Queen swag at one point, because I know some people were really excited about some of the shirts and like the laptop sleeves, and I no longer do those anymore because those went through another company that like is now focusing on artists, and they're not like letting people white label and sell merch through it. But anyways, I digress. I knew this was going to be a little bit of a longer episode because I really felt like it was so important to talk about speech and how it just shows up differently when you're neurodivergent, if you have a disability, and how we really need to be inclusive of people who just speak differently if we want to shape and lead the businesses and society that we really want to see grow. And also, I think it was just like very apropos for me to share about where I'm at with my website, because I truly did honor my own timing with this website. Is it perfect? No. Does it have to be in order to serve my business? Absolutely not. But I don't want you on the other end of this podcast listening and thinking that like, just because I have like an eye for design and preferred aesthetics, that I subscribe to everything having to be perfect. It does not. Things get to be messy. We get to be in process. And like anything else, it's so important that you enjoy the journey, or else what the fuck are you doing this for? Why are you playing big? Why are you designing a life on your terms? Why are you like quitting your job to build your dream empire if you are not enjoying this process? And so I told myself I wasn't going to stress myself out. I wasn't going to worry about the website or all the new programming being launched and live and perfect. I just get to take it slow and juicy and enjoy it. And like when it's ready, it's ready. And now like new parts of the website are ready, particularly my join my community opt-in and like my menu of all the juicy things that I will be offering in the future. And as the website develops, you'll see things hook up, like you'll be able to join a wait list for the Blackfire Femme retreat. You'll be able to actually buy and book sessions through the website. But for right now, this is what it is. If you have been listening every single week, I want you to hear me when I say, I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you. Keep tuning in, keep listening to the show, keep tuning into yourself, keep listening to yourself. And until next week, keep playing big.
Okay, that's it for this episode of the Play Big Queen podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. As always, eat the fruit, spit out the seeds, take what nourished you, keep what resonated for you, and leave the rest, because ultimately, you know best. This episode is over until next time, but we can keep this thing going. Go to xxxkatebailey.com, scroll to the bottom where it says join our community, and get on the email list to get all the juicy details about all my offerings and where Play Big Queens play together online, on social media, and in person. We've got a tight community of women claiming their boldest desires, celebrating wins, playing all out, fiercely standing for each other, and going higher together. Go to xxxkatebailey.com, put in your email address, and confirm your subscription. Once you're in, you'll get all the juicy guides, tips, and inspirations, and you get notified first about all the offers we have for all the big stuff we're doing over here. Go to xxxkatebailey.com to stay in the loop. That's xxxkatebailey.com. If you like what you heard in this podcast, subscribe, share it with your friends. And if you got something from this, I would appreciate some reviews and ratings. When you take the time to review the podcast, it helps our podcast get out to more women who need it. If you haven't already, head over to iTunes and Spotify and show Play Big Queen some love. Also, I want you to know that my door is always open, and I will always make space for you to be heard and to honor your experience. The views expressed in this podcast are through the lens of my personal identity and my own lived experience. I am a European mix, Mediterranean mutt who is an Italian, Sicilian, cis heterosexual woman born in New York, experiencing the world in a white body as a multiply neurodivergent who lives in a neurodiverse and racially blended family. And like everyone else, my one single perspective comes with its own limitations. I have done personal and professional work around anti-racism, diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion. I am not a therapist or doctor, and any coaching or advice cannot take the place of professional medical, mental health, or healing help. However, that being said, what happens in my work is often a very powerful, additional, supplemental, or alternative way to heal around identity work, mindset, and emotional wellness. Although I am not a licensed therapist, it is worth noting that in addition to being a mentor, I am trained and certified in emergency medicine and response. I have rendered care to over 20,000 patients in the course of my career. I have taught over 15,000 students, many of which had learning disabilities that were undiagnosed and came from diverse cultural backgrounds. I was also a private health college adjunct professor who was responsible for training medical professionals on how to respond to trauma and behavioral emergencies. If you approach me with any concern, you will be met with professionalism, compassion, tact, understanding, support, and a readiness and a willingness to advocate for your needs. That being said, sometimes I just get it wrong. I am a human being on my own growth journey after all. When I mess up, I'm always available for a courageous and crucial conversation that makes way for growth and healing. Your experience and voice matters to me. I sincerely welcome any feedback you feel called to share. You can email your comments or concerns to info@playbigqueen.com, knowing that I am open to having any and all crucial conversations needed. Okay, remember, you are brilliant. Celebrate yourself, value your own unique way, and honor your own timing, because you can totally create a life and business that feels good and is successful on your terms. Remember to release expectations of what you think your play big process should look like, and be willing to do the work that needs to be done to play big. But most of all, when you come face to face with your boldest desires, remember to trust yourself and play big, queen. Hi, queen. I see you're in it for the long game. If you reach this part of the podcast episode, it means you're interested in learning more about my work, my values, my mission, and my community. So let's go deeper together. I am here to activate neurodivergent women to play bigger and to show you that you are so capable of doing big things, and that if you value your own unique way and honor your own timing, you will learn to receive your boldest desires and so much more. In my world, what makes you different is valued, celebrated, honored, and welcome. I welcome all who identify as female and non-binary folk in my Play Big Queens community. We believe in and support LGBTQIA+2S, Black Lives Matter, women's and pro-choice rights, and obviously intersectional identities, including disabilities, neurodivergence, and religious beliefs. Personally, I am pro-sex worker rights, pro-Palestinian liberation, against Islamophobia, and against anti-Semitism, and I'm also against any cult-like religions that use beliefs as an excuse to indoctrinate people into abusive, autocratic systems. Like many neurodivergent people, we have big hearts and a strong sense of social justice around here. You are encouraged to stay and play in our Play Big Queen community if you share these values. For those who find the word queen does not resonate, perhaps because of imperial associations, the Play Big Self archetype can take any form, and the invitation and activation remains the same. To learn to embody your Play Big Self, to operate from love instead of fear, to go on a Play Big journey in community because you know that no Play Big queen can truly play big alone. To decide to cultivate the courage to use your voice, unmask, reclaim, embrace, and embody your brilliance, and create a life and business that works with the unique way that you work. Through this work, you will come to know the truth of your brilliance deeply. And as you come to know your authentic self, more and more will begin to open up for you. Knowing your unique brilliance will lead to great success and true belonging. In this world, we take the pressure off and learn to step off the traditional path so you can blaze your own trail. My mission is to get you motivated, inspired, and equipped to get into massive action and go on your very own Play Big journey. My mission is to empower at least 10,000 women to fully step into their Play Big self by offering healing, transformative, inclusive, and neurodiverse affirming coaching and content. Through innovative coaching programs, courses, and masterclasses, we provide the tools, support, sustainability, and community needed to help each woman embrace her unique path to confidence, success, and meaningful impact. If just 10,000 women with invisible disabilities and their allies were empowered with neurodiverse affirming and inclusive communication to express their unique brilliance, step into their authority and autonomy, and lead, the world would experience a profound shift towards inclusivity, innovation, and empathy. These women would break through societal limitations, modeling resilience, creativity, and strength of diversity. Their voices and perspectives, often shaped by unique experiences with challenges and perseverance, would redefine business leadership, inspire systemic change, and create spaces where diverse ways of thinking are not just accepted, but celebrated. Industries and communities would become more accessible and inclusive, with practices that honor varied ways of working, communicating, and achieving. This change would ripple into every area of life and society. Workplaces would become more adaptable, offering a culture of respect for individual strengths. Healthcare and education systems would improve, centering accessibility and compassion in their approaches, and policies would evolve to better support those with invisible challenges, benefiting society as a whole. So many women with so much potential are shrinking in the face of their own brilliance, just sitting on the sidelines waiting for permission instead of getting in the game. The activation of the latent potential in these women, their empowerment, making them visible, would inspire others, reduce stigma around invisible disabilities, and encourage everyone to lead authentically. Their successes will light the way for countless more women to rise, creating a culture of true diversity where every person feels valued, included, and emboldened to contribute their brilliance and lead with it. If you know you are ready for more clarity, confidence, and you want to embody your play big self and be supported around creating the big vision for your life and business, then send me an email at info@playbigqueen.com telling me why this work is so important for you, and we can explore opportunities to work together and make your play big dreams a reality.